Good morning. Thanks for joining me on the live training video this morning. It's actually raining a little bit, pretty cloudy. We're supposed to get some pretty bad weather coming in today. Hopefully it doesn't get too loud on this roof. And but we're gonna do the best we can. If you hear some noise, that's what it is. It's rain coming on the roof, and we're gonna do the best we can. We ride no matter what. Stay under the roof and do what we can do. I am on Nighthawk today. He is a horse that he tends to carry his head a little high anyways, which is not a big deal, but he's also pole resistant. And we're going to talk about the difference between how the horse naturally carries himself and pole resistant, because a lot of issues come up when a trainer asks a horse to lower their head. When a horse is naturally high-headed and you lower the head, it's going to cause some issues. But if the horse is pole resistant, pole is right here, top of the head. If the horse is pole resistant, you need to work that resistance. Just like if you're pulling the head to the side and you're working that lateral resistance, you have to work the pole resistance. Remember, there's 7 pressure points on a horse's head: corners of the mouth, bars, tongue, chin, nose, roof of the mouth, and the pole. And that is the 7 different places that a bridle can put pressure on a horse's head. And it's just as important to work pole resistance as it is lateral resistance. Any resistance anywhere in the horse's body can be an issue. It's going to be an issue for the horse moving correctly and doing what you ask him to do. He has a little bit of Frisian in him. When I start moving him around, that you'll see the Frisian. When you don't know what the breed is, you can tell there's something in there, but you're not really sure what. And the headgear that I have on him, this is a Jim Edwards sliding gag. This is actually Raven's that she ordered, and works really, really good. I have one that a little bit different setup, but it doesn't work near as good as hers. So that's what I have on her. We'll get a close-up picture of that in a few minutes so you can see. I'm going to walk him around a little bit so you can kind of see how he moves. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and we'll kind of address it how things come up. So as I'm walking him around, pay close attention to when I give him an aid. If I put my hands and ask him to bend, or if I put leg on him and ask him to bend, watch what his head does. The resistance is going to happen. His head will come up. Now right there, his head softened and he broke at the pole. That's what we want. When I pick my hand up, I want him to break at the pole. Now, sometimes when I pick my hand up, you're going to see his ears go up. That's the resistance that we're working with. Nice break at the pole there. I do the bend counter bend exercise. For most horses, that will fix the pole resistance. When I apply leg and push my leg and ask for a counter bend, most of the time that's going to lift the body, and that in itself is going to fix the pole resistance. Let's come around. I'm going to put a little bit of right leg, right rein, ask for a counter bend, and let's see what happens. See his head go up right there? That's the resistance. And you notice that we quit the counter bend and see him pushing forward. That's the resistance that I'm talking about. That's what we're working with. See how high his head came up? Now his head softened. I'm going to release. It's exactly the same as working lateral bend. You pick the head up, or pick your rein up. The head goes that way. You release the rein. It's exactly the same thing, but instead of lateral softness, we're looking for vertical softness. If you pick your hand up and ask the horse to bend, and the horse pulls back and tries to not soften to your hand, there's the head going up again. It's softened. I'm going to hold it a little bit longer. We'll talk about why in just a minute. See his head still up, and I feel him pulling on my hand there. He's softened, and I'm feeling that softness that in my hands. I'm also feeling it in his body too with my legs. Normally, like I was saying a minute ago, normally when I go into a counter bend and I ask the shoulder to come up, that in itself normally fixes the pull resistance, but not always. Let's stop a minute. Let's talk about see how he got stiff right there and his head come up when I pick my hands up to stop. That's the resistance that I'm talking about. So when a horse is resistant in the neck and the head, they're going to get their leverage in their shoulders, in their feet to pull with their head, to pull on your hands. So if they're trying to pull their head this way, I'm going to feel pressure on my right hand. Well, I fix that pressure. That's that horse trying to get his head that way and push his leg down. You fix that pressure by putting right leg. That softens the ribs. That bends him over. Normally, can you hear me now? Sorry about that. We use rechargeable batteries. I guess I'm going to have to go buy some new ones. They should put fully charged. So as I was saying, normally when right there, his head come up when he stopped again when I asked him to stop. Normally, when they're laterally resistant and I put leg on, if they're pulling on my right hand, I put right leg. That softens this side. That brings the nose back around. That normally fixes a lot of that resistance. That's why it's really important that you use your legs along with your hands. If you're just working your hands, and you might be getting the head back and forth, but you're not fixing the body. Well, in this situation where it's pole resistance, where he's coming up, it's similar. When he brings his head up, I want to squeeze with both legs, and I want to keep him going because as his head comes up, he's pushing with both feet, and he's gonna speed up and slow down. He's gonna get resistant. He's not gonna walk with a fluid motion. And as I'm walking around, you'll be able to see that. And by putting this headgear on, this sliding gag, nothing is attached to the bit as far as when I pull, this rein goes down, goes through rings on the bit, across this pole, and then back down to the other side. So it's just one rope all the way around. The bit is in his mouth and it kind of holds everything in line, but I'm not actually pulling on the bit. When I pull, the rope actually slides through the bit. So I'm putting very little pressure on the corners of the mouth and the bars, and practically 98% of the pressure is up here on the pole, and that's why we use this headgear to work that pole resistance. We got any questions so far? Okay. As I walk around, he tends to be stiffer on my right hand than he does on my left. Let's change directions and let's walk some right circles. Right there, he pulled his head away as soon as I asked him to turn right. Pulled his head away and stuck his head up and to the left. So when He's resistant. I'm going to make contact with that hand, and I'm going to push a little bit with that leg. There we go. And I'm riding generally the same way that I would ride. The main difference is because of swapping headgear, the pressure is going to the point that is resistant so that I can work that resistance. I don't ever ride a horse in the same bit more than 3 rides in a row. And the purpose of that is to keep all the pressure points off. Right there, his head went up, he pushed forward. I felt him pull on both hands. He slowed down a little bit. I gave just a little squeeze with both calves. But the purpose of swapping headgear every 3 rides is so that I can keep all those points on the horse's head fresh. And as a horse advances through training, I'm going to work each one of those pressure points as I need to. There, right there, he's pulling on my right hand. His head went up. Lift my right hand, push up my right leg. I'm going to work each of those 7 pressure points to develop those pressure points. When a horse stays with me long enough to advance all the way through training, and I'm talking like year and a half, then the horse is going to understand all 7 of the pressure points, and is going to know what to do with those pressure points, what each one means, and what he's supposed to do with his body with those pressure points. I'll have video coming out on my Patreon page where I'm going to go really in depth with this headgear, exactly how it works, why it works, using my hands, using my legs, what to do when the horse is really resistant. And that'll be coming out on my Patreon page for my Patreon members. It'll be real in-depth information on this headgear. There, he kind of softened his ears, broke at the bowl. I expect a horse to find the release. When a horse does whatever the thing is that I'm right there, is pulling on my hands, kind of lift my hands, a little squeeze with my calves. There, he got softer. I expect the horse to find the release. I'm going to put my hands where I need to, and when the horse gets the release, when the horse finds that release, in the beginning, I'll release the pressure to show the horse that was the right answer. But when the horse gets more advanced, like him and a lot of these other horses in the barn, and they understand the contact and what it means and what they're supposed to do, I'm just going to set my hands and ride with my seat, and the horse will find the release, and I'm just going to sit there and expect the horse to stay there in that carriage. Got a question? Oh, okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about voice commands. I did a clinic last week at Amazing Grace Equestrian Center in Parkton, Maryland. And I touched on this a little bit with a couple of riders, but I didn't really go in there. Right there, I'm gonna walk him forward, soften him up a little bit. Didn't really go in depth in the clinic, and it's something that's really important. Ask him to stop, see him getting resistant and pushing through. That was a better stop. So when you ask your horse to walk off, generally you want to ride forward in that maneuver. What I see a lot of people doing is they're sitting still, and they'll give a voice command, whether that be walk or a cluck or a tick or whatever their voice command is. They give that command for the horse to walk, and then once the horse starts walking, then they'll start riding whatever that gait is. That causes an issue because many horses, when they move forward in that way, when they transition forward, they don't transition well in the back end. So if I just sit up here and cluck, I'm not really framing his body correctly for that transition from stand to walk, because transitioning from stand to walk is still a transition, just like walk to trot or trot to lope or coming back down. So I will use a verbal cue, but I don't use it all the time. And I mainly use it from walk to canter, walk to lope. If I want a horse to transition to walk from here, I'm going to take a hold of his body, frame his body up like it needs to be, and I will ride him forward. And I don't use a verbal cue for that typically, because I want him to move forward. See his resistance? I want him to move forward in frame. So now I have my reins up, I have him in frame. Now I'm going to take a little squeeze with my calves and push forward from behind and ride that transition forward, not using a voice cue. Because I ask him to stand and I just tick to go forward. Let's see what that looks like. So let's come down to a stop. Get your head where it should be. And release. So let's just use a voice cue. He's not used to it. See how his head's up? He's not really pushing in the back end. His feet are down. He's not really framed up to move forward correctly. Now, huh? Okay, I'm going to go over one more thing. So I'm going to walk forward. I'm not going to do anything with my reins. All I'm going to do is ride with my seat. I'll probably give him a little touch with my spurs. Watch how his body moves forward. What I really want is the back end to push underneath, his shoulders round up, and him actually break at the pole a little bit just off of my legs. Let's see if that happens. That's really what I want. Pick my hand up, little squeeze. He lowered his ears. It didn't really break at the pole. I would like for him to break at the pole a little bit. And a lot of the reason why he did it is because of that resistance. Because as soon as I started asking him to go, he's like, "No, I don't want to." What's the question?
All right, Gail. When trail riding and we stop to take a break, my mare does not want to stand still. I've been circling and coming back and stopping. It seems to be helping. Any other suggestions?
Okay, so when trail riding and stopping to take a break, the horse doesn't want to stop. And you're going to have to play with your horse's mind a little bit, do more stopping. If you're riding quite a few miles and that horse has go in their mind, then some horses, it takes a little bit to change their mindset from go to stop. When I'm riding out here, and like when I ask the horse to stop and stand, we'll stand a pretty good bit. We'll stand a while and make sure the horse understands that this is time to stand and then we're going to go. So what you're probably going to have to do with your horse is stop more often, wait for her to get relaxed like him, and then go and then get back on and go. All right, you got a light now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So in Gail's situation, going to need to stop more often because what's happening, a horse gets in his mind, go forward, and a lot of go. And it just needs to practice shifting their mind back into stand. Just got to have to stop more often. Uh, and stop, stand till the horse relaxes, and then go again. We deal with some of the same stuff with our reining horses because we walk into the pen, we want to stop, and we want the horse to immediately stop and stand still and relax in the middle because that's part of the what we're being judged on. So we have to stop. You got to practice standing just like you have to practice going, practice steering, practice everything else.
Sebastian said, I think a lot of riders think too much about legs and hands exclusively and don't think enough about what their seat is doing. It's a complete picture.
Yeah, absolutely, Sebastian. A lot of riders think about their hands and their legs and don't really think about their seat. That's very true. You have to ride with your whole body and ride forward. A lot of people think of riding very mechanical, mechanically doing something with your hands, mechanically doing something with your legs, and it's way less mechanical and more just moving with your horse. It's a lot more just being in tune with your horse. So when you go forward, your horse goes with you, like dancing with a partner. And it takes a lot of time to get that way. A lot of time in the saddle, a lot of time with your horse. And you watch me, I do a whole bunch of walking and I get things pretty nice at a walk before we go on to a trot and on to a lope. So those are a lot of the things that I'm developing in the walk. Teaching a horse to walk correctly, transition to a walk correctly, transition to a stop correctly, move its body with me, in tune with me. Okay, so what I have on here on Nighthawk is a Jim Edwards sliding gag. Am I close enough where you can get a good look? Right there. So that is a Jim Edwards sliding gag. The reins attached to the rope that's coming out the bottom. There's rings, the rope's just sliding through those rings. I'm not actually pulling on the bit itself. It goes across the top of his pole and down the other side and back to my hands. The bit kind of helps keep everything in line, but when I pick my hands up, I'm actually putting pressure up here on the pole. And that way I can work primarily on the point where the resistance is because the pole is where there's resistance. It's the same thing as if you were working lateral softness. And you pull your hand. When the horse gets soft, you release. Well, here I'm doing basically the same thing, and I want the horse to get soft in the pole and soften its head. As you watch him walk around, and I'm not really asking anything, this is pretty much where he's comfortable. Now, when we go into a trot, it comes up a little high right there. That's resistance. I go into a trot, it comes up a little bit, and I go into a canter, it comes up a little bit. But at a walk, this is where he's comfortable. So when he lifts his head from here, that is resistance. Now, a lot of where the horse is comfortable, where he wants to carry his head, is determined by how their neck comes out of their shoulders. And you can't change that. You can't make a horse, well, you can. You can teach a horse to carry his neck and head lower. But when you do that, you're going to cause some issues with the horse's movement, just the exact same way as if the horse is pole resistant and you don't fix it. Right there, he slowed down when his head went up. Did you notice that? So you have to work with the resistance, work through the resistance, separate that from whether the horse wants to hold his head high or wants to hold his head low. Most horses want to hold their head more comfortable out here. You watch them standing out in the pasture, that's where most of them are. When you watch them sleeping, that's where their heads are. You rarely see a horse standing out in the pasture sleeping with their head up high in the air. Okay?
When there is a tightness in the
Okay, when there's tightness in the pole, is there often another spot in the body that it shows up? Yes, it shows up mainly in the shoulders because when the pole goes up, the horse is getting the leverage to push up by pushing the feet down. So it kind of works like a teeter totter. Pole goes up, shoulders go down. So that's really, you see it there and you can, or you feel it there, but you also can feel it in the horse's rhythm. When he's sticking his head up, he's either on the bit and pushing forward, or he has his head down and he's wanting to stop, not wanting to go forward. And the rhythm of the walk, see right there? There was thunder over there. His head went up, he got resistant, and this shoulder quit moving fluidly. Let's turn to the right. He tends to be a little bit tighter on the right side than he does the left. That is often caused, I don't know if it with him, but that is often caused by a person who's very right hand dominant, kind of balancing on that rein while they're riding. Not always the cause, but that's usually the cause. And what happens if you're balancing on that rein, the horse feels that, and he kind of pulls his head to the left to support himself because you're pulling, he's going to pull just the same amount. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Can groundwork help supple the body? I'm not going to say it can't help, but you're not going to get it done very well unless you use some sort of bitting rig. Uh, when you're doing groundwork, and you see why when I lunge, I'll go into the wall. That's part of why I turn that way, to get the horse using his back end and his front end better. But when you try to fix this kind of stuff with groundwork, you don't have leg contact, you don't have contact on the bit. So you're not really building in the aids that's going to help you when you get in the saddle. So that's not really going to help you very much. When I'm walking him around, just looking, let's ask him to look right, feeling resistance in my right hand, I had some right leg, and we got soft. We'll walk on, I'll release. When you're trying to do this from the ground, you're not building in all those aids. So you're going to get in the saddle and you're still going to be starting back from that point, building in those aids. So not going to say you can't get it done, but you're going to spend a lot of time repeating work that didn't get done when you get in the saddle. Groundwork has a place, but nowadays, many people, many, vast majority, do way too much groundwork. You're not going to teach your horse to ride correctly off of leg and hand cues with groundwork. Now, you can use groundwork and like a bitting rig to build muscle that will make it easier for the horse to do what you ask, but you're not helping your aids when you get on the horse's back. Okay?
How would you address resistance that really happens mainly in transition to canter load? My mare is really good, walk trot about it, but just in general isn't fond of the low canter and gets hard.
Okay, so how would I handle resistance in the transitions to canter? That's actually a really common problem. And it's usually caused from the back end not pushing hard enough into the canter transition. So when a horse doesn't transition into the canter very well, I normally focus on building the back end up. We'll do some of the rollbacks exercises on the wall. We'll do a lot of really strong transitions from walk to trot. And by that, I mean, I might kick on the horse pretty hard to get from walk to trot really quick, one stride. You can help it with some backing exercises, but when you have a horse that's not transitioning to the canter well, it's usually from not using the back end. And if you think about that from a standpoint of the horse's front feet are pulling forward and the horse's back feet should be pushing forward. Well, if you end up where the horse isn't balanced very good front to back and the front is pulling harder than what the back is pushing, then the horse is going to be out of balance, and the back end isn't going to be able to give that push off into that first canter stride. So normally when a horse has trouble with that, it's weakness in the back end. So make sure you strengthen the horse's back end. And a lot of horses that I get that buck or hop up when they go into a canter, it's the same thing. It's they're so out of balance. It's kind of like driving a four-wheel drive vehicle with the wrong gear ratio, and the front's doing all the pulling, and the back's just spinning behind and not doing any pushing. Let's take him up to a trot and see what happens. We'll go left first. That's typically his better side. Let's see what happens. Just trot a few circles. As I'm trotting around, I want the bend of his spine to match the arc of the circle that we're trotting. As we're moving around, watch his body as a whole. A lot of people key in on one thing. They'll key in on the head, the ears, the shoulders, the back. Kind of look at the big picture. Watch his whole body. Watch his rhythm as it corresponds to what his ears are doing, what his pole is doing, where he's broke when he breaks at the pole. Watch the quality of his stride change. Right there, his shoulder fell in and we lost forward. Push the shoulders in, or out rather. Left rein, left leg. Generally going to hold my hands right up here in front. I'll try to remember to talk a little bit more about that one next time I stop. A little bit of left rein, left leg. Pick that inside shoulder up. Left rein, left leg. Pick the inside shoulder up. Oop, a lot of left rein, left leg. When I softened, it really fell in there. And this is all those aids that I was talking about, where if you try to do this from the ground, you're not going to build all these cues up. You're not going to build up these aids. If the horse loses his frame, he's used to holding it with a bitting rig. You can build muscle right there, which his head went up, we lost rhythm. You can build muscle. Left rein, left leg. See his head go up, get resistance. Now a little bit of right rein. Let's see if we can just drive him forward. A little bit of both legs. Left rein, left leg. Now let's go through the middle and change directions. And let's see what changes, if anything. I've been spending a lot of time working this direction because this was his worst direction. Right there, his ears are locked forward. Let's add a little bit of right rein, right leg. And the big takeaway to this is I'm really not trying to make him put his head in any particular place. When his head goes to the position that's comfortable and natural for him, the rest of his gait is going to get nice. So I'm working off of gait. I'm working off of body position right there. See how he pushed on my hands and we sped up. Take a hold of his face. I add a little bit of leg. Lift my hands a little bit. Now I'll get a little softer. See how when he pushed on my hands, we sped up. That's why it's really important. That was a pretty poor downward transition, so I'm going to ask him to lift his body up, bring his nose in. When he pushed on my hands, he sped up, and that's why it's really important to keep your hands right here. If you think about the horse's structure in his neck, he has his shoulders here, his spine comes out this way, his pole, everything is put together to bend this way. He can bend laterally. It's put together to bend this way. It's really not put together very good to bend up. So by keeping my hands up here, I'm really encouraging the break at the pole. If I put my hands here, basically I'm compressing this part. I'm not asking this part to bend. That's why your hands need to be right here in front, not down here. I see a lot of people, the horse's head goes up and they go right here. Well, if you're going right here and the horse's head is up, you're just pulling back on the spine, on the neck vertebrae. You're not really asking the horse to round off of the contact. So when the horse's head goes up, I lift my hands, and then the release, the horse will find the release by breaking at the pole and softening the ears. Got a question?
Yeah, Brenda, the one that asked about can groundwork help supple the body? She said, what would you do? He'll work and lots of transitions for that.
Okay, so as far as suppling about it, yeah, hill work definitely can help. Where I live, we don't have any hills, so I can't really do hill work here. It can help, but you have to do that correctly too. You need to work hills, but what I see a lot of people do when they're going up a hill, they're taking the reins and sliding their hand forward and they're driving the horse up the hill like that, but you're not keeping the horse rounded in correct frame. If you're going to work hill work, the horse needs to move in frame, needs to move correctly, and that's whether you're doing hill work or not. By just taking and throwing your reins away and asking him to trot up a hill like this, you're not really teaching your horse to use his body correctly. He might be pushing with his back end good, but he also might be pulling with his front end good. So you still need to keep him using his body correctly, no matter what method you use. Uh, you can accomplish some with ground poles. I have some poles in here. We use them some. I don't use them a whole lot, but they can be useful too. Uh, just depends on kind of what direction you're working towards. With our horses, we're working towards reining, ranch riding, cow horse. We'll do a little bit of ranch trail that has some poles. That's why we use some poles. But that's only a small fraction of the big picture. And I want the horse to round his body off of the aids that I'm going to give him for the events that we mostly do. Now, if you're going to do a lot of jumping, then yeah, working that on ground poles and really getting that good of a pole, that's a great idea. You can get it done there. Um, it's just keep in mind that the horse's body has to be correct however you work on it.
Okay, Lisa with Mustang Adventures said, we're working with my Mustang mare on impulsion, and I've noticed her transitions into canter are getting better and her head is getting lower.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Lisa. As she's working with her Mustang on transitions and impulsion, and she's improving her impulsion. And as she is improving that, the transitions are getting better. Back end is being used better. The head is getting softer, and the head getting softer is the head is going to the place where it needs to be so that they can use the back end correctly. And you need to work resistance like I'm doing with him. But if you don't have resistance, you leave it alone so they can put their head where they need to put it to do what they need to do. And that's why most of the time you don't have to go to something like this sliding gag. The horse will kind of figure it out. Well, his kind of in general, his first answer is no. When I pick my hand up, it's no. So his first answer is resistance, no, and then I have to work through the resistance. So I'm kind of working on in his mind changing that no to yes.
Okay, comment from Sebastian. I see a lot of rider position issues affecting the transition to canter. A less secure seat can cause the rider to pitch forward slightly, then lose center of gravity and balance. Then they pitch back too far and inadvertently pulling the mount in the process.
Yeah, exactly. Rider's seat has a huge impact on the quality of the transitions. And I was actually, I was thinking about doing this live on that on seat leg position, because our leg position riding Western is a good bit different than the leg position riding English, but it's different for a reason, and it has a lot to do with the saddles that we're using. Um, I Typically Western, we ride in a little bit of a chair seat with our toes turned out a little bit. That's not desired for English, but for the things we're doing with the tack we're doing it in, you have to make that change. And a chair seat, if I get in this position in an English saddle, it's not going to be very conducive to the things I would want to go do in that English saddle.
What are the best strength and conditioning training for barrel horses?
The best strength and conditioning training for barrel horses. It all has to do with basics. It all has to do with asking the horse to round up and use their body. I do lots and lots of trotting. Uh, I actually get quite a few barrel horses in here that are not using the body correctly, especially leaving mainly the second barrel. Uh, it's going to be a lot of trot, a lot of collected trot. I have some videos on what I call a collected extended trot. That is really, really beneficial for building the horse's muscles. And basically, what I do is I get in a regular trot. He's not going to do it because he's not conditioned enough to do it. Get in a regular trot, round the horse, get it really collected, and then with my seat and my legs, I hold that collection, but I drive that out to an extension. I've got a really good video where I'm doing that on Hank. And what that does, that keeps the horse's spine round, keeps him very collected, and really gets them to start reach with their back end. Very, very good exercise with the back end. And you'll actually get to the point to where you have suspension and the horse's legs will reach their full extension and you'll still be above the ground this much. And that's the best exercise that I have for building that condition. And it doesn't matter what discipline you do, everything goes back to basics. It all goes back to the horse being fit and using his body correctly.
How do I sign up for the Tennessee clinic?
Uh, I have been trying to message with the person that was putting that clinic together, and they haven't got back with me. So I'm not sure what's going on with that clinic. I'm going to have to see if they'll get back with me and figure out what's going on. Um, I'm not sure. That clinic might not happen. So we'll see. If anybody is interested in putting on a clinic, the way that works is you'll contract me to come in for however many days we decide on, and you'll contract me for that date. My fee includes my day fee and my travel to there, stay there, and travel back. And it's your responsibility to put the clinic together there as far as securing a facility, uh, securing parking or meals, that different things that go on with the clinic. And you would be setting the clinic fee, the price for the clinic, collecting the money, and then paying my fee when it's over. Most of the facilities that do clinics, that they actually use it as a fundraiser for the facility. Some of it's done by private individuals. My clinic in the UK is actually American Quarter Horse Association of UK is the one that's doing that clinic. And that works best doing it that way because wherever you are in the world, you know the facilities, you know the amenities that are there, you know the riders in that area and the things that they need. So if you're interested in putting on a clinic anywhere in the world, message me, email me, and we'll talk about it. My clinics are, uh, they're, I was going to do 5 clinics this year, and since that Tennessee clinic, I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not. I might pick up another clinic this fall, so we'll see how that goes. I was really looking forward to that clinic, and it seems like I had a lot of interest in it, but the person that was putting it together isn't getting back with me, so I don't know.
What is the video called? Are you working Hank in collected extension trot?
Um, yeah, I'm not sure what it's called. I think it has something to do with collected extended trot. I think it has to do with fitness. It's on my YouTube channel. You can go to Hank's playlist and scroll through his videos. I know I'm on him, and I'm in my outdoor arena. I think it has to do with fitness, if I remember right. When I set all those videos up, I kind of had two ways I could have gone. I could have set the playlist up per horse, or I could have set the playlist up per subject that I was working on. And I ended up going per horse so that everybody that sends a horse in for training can look at their horse and follow it through training. What my intention is now that I have quite a few videos on Patreon, go back and set up the playlist in Patreon per subject that I'm working on. So I need to sit down in front of my computer and set up those playlists.
I'm trying to find that.
Yeah, Melinda's trying to find that video. If I remember right, that was like a year ago. It's been a while. Don't remember. I remember it was on him out front. Could have been a little longer than a year. This is Nighthawk that I'm on. I've done a couple videos of him. I've actually, I think this is the third time I've had him in training. And if you watch him move around and you think there's something in there I can't pick out, he has a little bit of Frisian. One of his grandparents was a Frisian, so that's why he kind of moves a little bit different than what you would expect. He's not a AQHA paint. And with the Frisian, he would naturally carry his neck up a little higher, which I don't mind. But when it comes up as resistance. That's when there's a problem. Any luck finding the video?
Well, I see one from 2 years ago, how a horse carries his body affects his performance. But I don't know.
Who's that one on?
These are, I'm on Hank's playlist.
Okay.
Not mentally or physically.
I don't remember. I know it's. I'm not sure. I'll see if after the live, I'll look through the playlist and see if I can find it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're in the big arena.
It's in the big arena, and I'm on Hank.
There's one a year ago, not mentally or physically fit. Poor fitness equals poor transition. That was a year ago in the big arena.
Yeah, there's one. What's it say? Not physically fit. Poor fitness equals poor transitions. I don't remember if I'm working that exercise, but I'm working that topic where poor fitness affects poor transitions. That would probably be a helpful video. A lot of the more advanced videos I do on Hank, and because he's an advanced horse, he's really good for demonstrating those things.
They're not in order, so it's hard.
Oh, yeah. I'll try to go after the fact and find that video and post it. That's actually, that video is really helpful for a lot of things. It has a lot for fitness and collection. And I actually, at the clinic I did in Maryland last weekend, I had a couple of horses working that exact exercise and working transitions.
I think this might have been it. Building top line.
That sounds like it. Building top line.
It's called top line muscle building trot.
Top line muscle building trot. That's going to be it.
And top line is one word.
Yeah. Top line, all one word, muscle building trot. You should be able to find it there. It's in Hank's playlist, and I believe that's the video where I'm working that collected extended trot.
9 months ago.
Yeah, Melinda found it roughly 9 months ago. So that video shows that, and that's a really good for building muscle. That's what I use for that. You have to be careful when you're using that because you're really working the top line muscles, the back end muscles. And if you do a lot of it and your horse is really unfit, you can create some muscle soreness. So you just have to be aware of that. And talked about muscle soreness a couple of videos ago. And if you saw that video, put it in the comments. What do you do about muscle soreness? I talked a couple videos ago, and we talked about soreness in different places. And I said what to do with muscle soreness. So if you saw that, put it in the comments. Let's see who comments that first.
You have Lisa with the Mustang who she was working with her Mustang on impulsion, She said, I may consider using a sliding gag on my Mustang gelding during his reconditioning period. He's the one that had the colic surgery, so this would be a great time to not only work on him physically, but reconditioning, but also his mind.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea, Lisa. She's working on conditioning her Mustang and said that she might try this sliding gag on him. When I talk about bits and parts, for the most part, I'm not sponsored by any of these. This is a Jim Edwards brand. I'm not sponsored by Jim Edwards. I'm just talking about what I use. Um, if you order from anything on Amazon where you're following one of my links, I do get a little bit there just for a referral, but that's it. I'm not. This is Jim Edwards, but I don't get anything from that. This is just showing you a piece of equipment that I like.
Thank Kim. Kendall answered your question. Keep working.
Keep working. That's it. Well, who is it? Kim?
Kim Kendall.
Kim Tyndall had the right answer. Your muscle soreness, to keep working. Work through the muscle soreness, keep moving. And that's the best way to work through muscle soreness. The worst thing you can do is put the horse in the stall. Then his muscles are going to get all tight. Yep, exactly like a person, exactly like me when I get up out of bed in the morning. Work through it.
I think that's all the questions.
Okay, I think that's probably a good place to stop on Nighthawk today. I think we'll wind up the live. I appreciate everybody for joining in today. Actually, the rain held off. We got a little bit of sprinkle, but not too bad. We're supposed to get a good bit this afternoon and into tomorrow. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.